thank you, Jason David Frank.
And Mr. Saban.
And thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing.
And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified when we upload new content.
That's Tom.
And that's Chris. Decca, what do we got on deck for today?
Grab your lab coat because on today's episode we look at the science behind Power Rangers wrist communicators.
All right. I feel SOTMG coming on, so stay tuned.
It's PRNT time.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to watch PRNT!
Welcome, Rangers.
This episode of
PRNT,
your source for all things
Power Rangers.
As we heard in the opener, we are going to talk about one of the most essential tools in the arsenal of the Zordon-era Rangers, the wrist communicator.
That's right. But before we get into that, we've been talking about a little bit on our live feeds that we're going to start giving things away.
We are. Yay!
The first item we will be giving away is this variant cover of issue number 6 of the Boom Studios Power Ranger comic. To get information on how we will be giving this away, stay tuned till the end of the video.
That's right. We're going to explain everything there. But first, let's talk about communicators.
That's right. The first appearance of the wrist communicator was in episode 2 of Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
In this episode, Billy announces to the group that he has invented a communication device using microwaves.
That's right. Many of us are familiar with them, but the question is, how do they work? Well, today I'm here to hopefully shed some light on that.
It definitely sounds like another Science of the Morphin Grid episode, so Tom, you better morph up.
All right, let's do this. It's science time! Ready.
Looking good as always, my friend.
Thank you.
So, communicators, Tom, how do they work?
Well, the first thing I want to make clear is that the science of microwave communication is the same for radio waves. Okay, so when I talk about this, I'm going to be talking about radio waves kind of interchangeably. The only difference between them, however, is that microwaves have smaller wavelengths. Okay, so they travel in waves. All right, and the wavelength is from crest to crest, so from peak to peak. Okay,
right.
So they have smaller wavelengths and therefore higher frequencies, meaning you get more waves going by you in a given amount of time because they're shorter. But essentially, they do work in the same manner, and that's why they are both part of something called the electromagnetic spectrum.
So your explanation of how microwave communication works is the same as how we use our radios.
Right,
okay.
Yeah, and even more specifically, I think that the Rangers are using science of FM radio.
Oh, why is that?
Well, FM signals tend to be clear and less prone to interference, and if you're watching the show, you hear the voices, they are pretty clean and crisp. So I think it's definitely FM.
I assume then that FM waves are broadcast in a specific way?
Right, yes. But I'm going to save more for that later.
All right. Okay, so let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
We power up the antenna.
Right.
And then we begin broadcasting. What happens next?
Well, first you have to have a voice input.
Oh.
Okay. And the voice of whoever is speaking has to be converted into an electrical signal.
And how does that happen?
Well, microphones have something that we call a diaphragm, okay? When we talk, we produce sound waves, okay? The diaphragm in the microphones vibrates when it experiences that sound wave, okay? And the motion of that vibration back and forth, causes an electrical signal to be produced, okay? And I want you to notice that when we talk, we don't talk in a monotone, same all the time, same spacing, blah, 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 blah. Okay?
Right.
So that means that the frequency of this wave, how tightly or far apart spaced the waves are, isn't going to be uniform.
So after the microphone converts the sound into electrical signals, What happens after that?
The signal then goes through something called an amplifier, which gives us the signal more height, more energy, but it doesn't change the spacing or frequency of the input voice. Okay.
So essentially, it's boosting the signal.
Right. It's only boosting the signal. It's not changing the spacing of the waves at all.
Okay, then what?
Well, then after the input signal goes through the amplifier and its height gets changed, okay, it meets up with something that's called a carrier signal, okay? And the carrier signal has the same height, same wave height, same energy or amplitude as the input signal.
So now we have two signals.
Right.
Okay.
We have the input signal, which comes from you speaking into it. It has a constant height, so the height of the wave is not going to change at all. But it has different frequencies, as we said earlier, because voice isn't in a monotone. Okay.
Right.
Sometimes it's really fast, so the thing moves very quickly, so they're bunched up. Other times, if you talk slower, the waves are going to be more spread. All right. So that's the input signal. The second signal we have is the carrier signal, and that has that constant height, which is the same as the input signal, but the carrier signal has that constant frequency, okay? All the waves are spaced exactly the same.
So these two signals are eventually going to meet up.
Yes, and when they do, the differences of frequency in the input signal from your voice, it's going to change, kind of combined with the frequency of the carrier signal. And this only is going to happen in certain spots. So now our new signal is a combination of the input, it's a combination of the carrier, and it's going to have different frequencies throughout the signal. Okay, some parts are going to be bunched up, some parts are going to be spread apart. This is something we call frequency modulation. FM, frequency modulation.
Okay.
FM for short, yes.
So now that we have the FM signal, what happens?
Well, the signal goes to the antenna, okay, which creates an electromagnetic field. There's electrons that are vibrating back and forth, so on and so forth, which then sends out that electromagnetic signal, and the antenna transmits it.
Okay, so how does everyone hear the transmitted signal?
Well, you have to have a receiver.
Right.
Okay. So the antenna and the receiver picks up this radio wave or microwave. Okay. It amplifies it if need be, because sometimes the signal is very weak. It puts it through a filter, which removes the carrier signal. Okay. So after you remove the carrier signal, all you have is the input signal, which is recorded using your voice. Okay, so that input signal is sent to a speaker, and the speaker vibrates up and down. The diaphragm of the speaker vibrates up and down, which produces a sound wave that we can then in turn hear.
All right, so this is how radios work.
Right.
But Billy uses microwaves.
Right.
All right, so what's the difference?
Okay, so I said I was going to save it for later.
Yeah.
The way I see it, the carrier signal that Billy uses has a much higher frequency, okay? Microwaves are a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Radio waves are nice, long waves, sometimes kilometers long. Microwaves are shorter, okay? So the peaks of them are closer together.
Micro meaning small.
Micro meaning small, right, yes.
All right, now what about encryption?
Encryption for what?
Well, let's say Tommy, I love you, JDF, is trying to send a message to the other Rangers. What's stopping other people from hearing what the Rangers are saying to each other?
Ah, okay. Well, in World War II, something called secure voice came about. And what it does is, along with the radio wave, the final transmissible wave, a loud noise is also broadcast.
Oh.
Okay? So if you were to just hear it, you would just hear this loud noise. Unless you had the proper receiver, and if you had the proper receiver, it's going to subtract, it's going to filter out that loud voice, that loud noise. So all you have is the audio that you are meant to receive.
All right, so the show once again accurately depicted a scientific concept.
Not exactly.
Of course not. You always have to be a downer.
Right. Well, for one thing, microwave communication is something that we called line of sight communication.
And what's that?
Well, it means that the receiver has to have a direct, unobstructed path to the transmitter, okay, in order for this to work. This is why microwave transmissions are usually high up on like mountaintops and stuff, so it has, that view of all the receivers that can be down in the valley.
Just like the command center.
That's a happy coincidence, yes, that the command center is up, so it could have that microwave transmitter and have all those unobstructed lines of sight, yes.
But these communicators wouldn't work in buildings or underground.
Oh, they might to a certain extent, but the signal would be very, very weak, yeah. Sometimes even a rainstorm can interfere with microwave transmissions.
Is there anything else?
Well, there is one more thing that I want to mention.
Which is?
Space communication. I can't recall right offhand if we ever see the Rangers use their communicators off of Earth. I know the in-space ones, they use it on the Astro Megaship, but outside of that, I don't know if they ever use it off of Earth, but if they did, that could pose some problems.
Like what?
Well, microwaves in any other part of the electromagnetic spectrum can only travel as fast as the speed of light.
So the farther away they would get from Earth, the longer it would take for the wave to get there.
And for the communications, right, okay? The communicators work great on Earth because, waves travel very, very quickly because it's a relatively short distance, so it's really not an issue.
But if they leave Earth...
If they were on the moon, okay, there would be a 1.3 second delay between the transmission and the receiving.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No. But if they went farther, say to Mars, you're looking at a delay of about 12.5 minutes. Yeah. And if you went to the very edges of our solar system, you're looking at a delay of about 18 hours.
Yeah. So, communication via microwaves off Earth, not very practical.
No.
Anything else?
No, not really. Which means it's time for me to remind you that if you have any comments about this episode at all, things you agree with me, things you think I'm wrong about, be sure to either A, leave a comment below, or message us on any of our social media.
And when you do, please use the hashtag SOTMG communicators.
SOTMG communicators, right. Now, it's the end of the episode.
Yes.
Which means it's time for what?
We're giving stuff away!
Right. Yes.
All right. So the way we are going to be doing this,
yes,
for you to enter in to win this variant cover comic, you need to be subscribed to our channel. You need to like us on our Facebook, and you need to put in the comments of this video
the answer
to a question
we have. Now, you have probably seen us on our social media playing Power Rangers Trivial Pursuit.
Yes. And there's one category of question that always stumps us.
And it's behind the power, the green.
That's
questions, right. Yeah. So we thought if it stumps us, why not give you guys a shot at it? Now, we're aware that you can probably Google the answers, but hey, if you're willing to go through the effort to win this, it's probably worth it. Yeah. So I am going to read the question, right? And then you're going to have until when to send us an answer.
Well, we are going live next week on this YouTube page.
Right.
Tune in on our social media on Thursday to know exactly what time.
Right, what time during that week. And that week, if I look at the calendar right here, the Saturday that we are going to be giving this away is going to be the 28th of October.
That's right.
The 28th of October. But if you check our social media on the 26th of October, like Chris said, we are going to be telling you what time we're going live on our YouTube to give away this prize. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so you will have until, you want to say Friday night at when?
Midnight. So Saturday night. So Saturday morning at midnight.
Saturday morning, midnight. You're going to have until then to tell us the answer to this question by leaving a comment on this video.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
If we haven't confused you, let's move on.
Okay, well, we'll say this, okay? You're going to have until October 28th at midnight, so early Saturday morning, to answer this question in the comments below.
That's right.
Yes. Right?
And subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Question time?
Question time.
Question time. Okay, here is the question. What actress played a daughter in Power Rangers Mystic Force, then graduated to a feature villain role in Power Rangers Jungle Fury? Again, what actress played a daughter in Power Rangers Mystic Force, then graduated to a feature villain role in Power Rangers Jungle Fury?
Good luck.
You figure that out. You answer it on this video. You could win this variant cover.
Thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing.
And don't forget to ring the bell so you get notified when we upload new content. And remember, as we sign off, our hope is that the power will always protect you.
Let's power down.
Hey Rangers, thanks for checking out this episode.
If you want to see more, be sure to click the link to the left to see our most popular video.
Check out the link on the right to see our most recent upload.
And aim for that button in the center to subscribe if you haven't already.
And if you still want more, be sure to check out our social media pages where we post all sorts of things to be your source for all things Power Rangers.